Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my first impressions reaction to Euphoria. So, I'll say right off the bat, I don't fully know what this is about. All I know is Zendaya's in it. It's really popular, and I think it has something to do with drugs. I'm not confident on that, but I think it does. Now, live action shows can often be a hit or miss with me, but they've been doing some pretty good ones in the recent years. And I'm hoping that stuff like the star power of Zendaya and whatnot can help push me through this. Usually I do tend to prefer animation. It's just how I am. But there's been plenty of live action shows that I've really loved. Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul by extension. Supernatural. And even more recent stuff like Doom Patrol and Chucky that I've checked out on the channel. So, it's kind of up in the air whether or not I'm going to like this. But I'm hoping I do. Now, I think I heard one other thing. I think it's this series that I heard this about. If not, I apologize, I guess, for getting the series wrong. But I think it's this series that I heard has, like, very notable sexual content in it. Like, to where, like, there was, like, just to put it simply, there was a scene where a character gets his ass eaten out. And again, I think it's this series that I heard that about. If not, again, I apologize for getting the series wrong. But it's just, this is like stuff I just randomly hear about or see mentioned on social media without really paying super active attention. So if I did get it wrong, I, again, apologize. But I think it's that, and if this is that series, and if this does just in general have strong sexual content, I do want to warn you all as viewers, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm fine with shows that do that. It's not a big deal. It's just it's kind of the same conversation as I would have with like fan service in anime or something like that, where it's just like, as long as it feels like it serves a point or works within the context of the series itself, then I'm fine with it. As long as it's not just clearly there for the sake of, you know, having sexuality / fan service. As long as it's clearly not just there just to have it, then okay. Because, as I've stated before with stuff like Fire Force, fan service just for the sake of fan service is oftentimes distracting. And oftentimes is not good for the sake of the series and how it's portrayed. Fan service with a point, or that just naturally fits into the context of the world or the scene or yada yada, that can be fine. Because it feels natural and it feels like it belongs there. It doesn't feel like it was forced in just for the sake of, you know, nudity. Having nudity or close to it. So I'm hoping that any sexuality, nudity, or whatever in this does feel more natural. And I feel like that's easier to do in live action anyway. Because in real life, like with real people and everything, people have sex. People engage in sexual activity. It's just normal, honestly. And for a long time, our society has definitely put this taboo on that, as if it's like this big scary thing to have sex, and it's like, shut up. Only in more recent years has it become more acceptable as just normal. It's become more normalized, it's become more commonplace to talk and think about it, to accept it, and just acknowledge that people can be sexual and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and I'm glad that is becoming more normal because the entire discourse around purity culture and just this societal thing that we've had against being open about sexuality has hurt a lot of people in terms of their growth and just being able to be comfortable with themselves in a lot of ways. Um, I'm not necessarily the best at explaining all of that, but I know Jimmy Snow, also known as Mr. Atheist on YouTube, he's talked about that before and he's explained it really well on how even it's affected him specifically growing up. And it's definitely affected myself as well, having been kind of hurt in a lot of ways by that entire purity culture bullshit. um, but yeah, yeah. So, yeah, other than that, I don't, again, know really what the series is about, like plot wise or anything. I think the seasons, just because I think this has become a normal thing lately, I think the seasons are short from what I saw when I got the first episode. They're, again, like 8 to 10 episodes or something like that. And I think there's 2 seasons out, but I don't know if season 2 is completed or still airing or whatnot. Because people are still talking about this show pretty heavily, which almost makes it surprising I don't know more than I do. Because, like, almost every time I go on social media, I see at least one post talking about this. Whether it's from someone I follow on like Twitter or it's from some kind of fandom page or whatnot talking about it, or something that happened in it, or some interview involving a star from it or something like that. It's like I'm always hearing about this series. And I think that's what's made me want to check it out the most. This has gotten such a huge fan following. Like, I would say that this is kind of on the level of Breaking Bad back in its prime. Back when Breaking Bad was still airing and when it was really in its prime, it was everywhere. People were talking about it everywhere. And this is kind of that same feeling. Or hell, even back when Game of Thrones was in its prime and, you know, people weren't just hating on it. When people were actually really into Game of Thrones and we're talking about it all the time. It's like it's the same kind of thing. It's getting that kind of attention, that level of attention. And that does interest me. Now, I won't necessarily like it as much as they do, but I really want to give it a chance just because of that. And hell, I've checked out shows on much less than that. I've checked out shows literally just because of their theme song. So, um, but yeah, I'm interested to see what this is like, to give it a chance, and hopefully I'll like it enough to continue either reacting or watching on my own time. Because as for anyone new here, what a first impressions reaction is compared to a normal blind reaction on the channel is it is me giving a shot to a show that I might be interested in checking out further, that I might be interested in watching on the channel, but I'm giving it basically a trial run. I'm checking out the first episode, or in some cases I've checked out like 2 episodes. And if I like it enough to react to it, I'll put it on the list for some time down the line. An example of something I'm currently reacting to that started off as a donation or as a first impressions reaction would be Chucky. Now, if I don't end up liking it enough to react to it but still want to watch on my own time, that's an option too. I might like the series, just I don't feel it might be right for a reaction series on this channel. And in some cases, I just might not like the series. It's always possible. It's really just dependent on how my personal experience with it goes. Because everyone has different opinions, everyone has different views on things, and everyone's going to view a series differently. So, yeah. Excuse me. Wow. um, but yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what this has in store for us. I love Zendaya as an actress. Um, she's one of those actresses I really want to see in more stuff. Um, so I definitely like want to see her in something that she's being so heavily praised for here. Because let's be honest, what I know her for is the Disney Channel stuff she's done and Spider Man. um, I've probably seen her in something else as well, but I can't think of it at the moment. And that's the point. Like she's a big name right now, but she's still yet to go into so many different things that it's like she'll be recognized offhand for more than one thing. But a lot of people are recognizing her for this. So that's a good sign. Um, but I again, I do want to see her in much more in terms of like Hollywood films and stuff going forward. Because she definitely has proven she can do a great job in that regard, and definitely needs to be given these more opportunities. But we'll see, uh, I guess, how that goes in the future. In the meantime, we're just going to get this started with this first episode. Like a lot of the live action stuff I do, it's about an hour long. That's just how it tends to go. So we'll see how it goes. And then in the afterthoughts, I will give you my consensus, what I think of it, and decide whether or not I want to continue it on the channel. So, let's get this going. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I want to look up just the information on the first episode, obviously without looking into spoilers, because I wanted to like try to get some of these names down and everything, if I could. And I found out a fun little tidbit that when I went back through the episode and went back to the scenes, and it's very heavily hinted at, and it's never actually said or made like perfectly clear, but it is very heavily hinted at, and if you listen to the language used around those scenes, it's something you'll very much pick up on. But it just escaped me. I just did not realize. But what I found out through looking at this is that Jules, who's the character I was definitely probably liking the most, she was the one who was like threatening the asshole with the knife and everything, and sticking up for herself after being, after hooking up with who we find out is the asshole's father. Yeah, she was the one I was definitely like just feeling for and just connecting to the most. And it's funny that I was connecting to her the most, because I found out when just looking up the first episode, again, I didn't look up anything further, but I found out she's trans. Like, the character of Jules is trans, and I think the actress is too. Let me check that just to be sure. Because I've heard the name Hunter Schafer before. And I think I've heard that she is trans. But let me make sure. Yes, she is. She said the internet helped her cope with her gender identity, turning to YouTube and social media, learn about transition. I did that too, actually. That was definitely a big help for me when I was questioning things and all. She diagnosed a lot earlier in life than I did. She diagnosed, transitioned a lot earlier in life than I did. She transitioned in ninth grade, according to this. And for me, it was obviously not that early in life, unfortunately. Um, and apparently, according to this, she's also bi or pan, somewhere in that spectrum, according to what she says and all. So definitely connecting on a few levels, being pan myself. Um, so that's interesting that it's like the character I most strongly connected to in this, the one that I liked the most. And nothing against Rue um, or any of the other characters necessarily. There were other characters I definitely liked, but she was the one I liked the most and definitely felt for the most. Um, which it's good that it seems she's going to be a main character going forward too, especially with how this ended with her and Rue uh, hanging out and all, and possibly going further in the future. There is a possibility of that, but it's funny that the character I do connect to is also trans and everything. Um, and I didn't even realize it. But I went back, like I said, I went back, I looked through her scenes and everything, and like if you pay attention to the way that people talk about her and to her in those scenes, like both the asshole and the asshole has a name. Like, let me see here. Um, Nate. Nate, the way he talks about her, like when he's confronting her in the kitchen, he's like, "I know what you are" and stuff like that. And then his father, when she's in the hotel room with him, um, the way he talks about her is like he says like, "Do you always go out looking like this and everything?" Um, and there was the one line that kind of confused me. It's like, "You're very clean. You don't know how rare that is," and it's like my mind was like trying to figure out what the hell he meant by that. I think I know what he meant by that now. Um, I was so focused during that scene though on how fucking creepy and weird and uncomfortable it was that I wasn't like paying as much attention to the dialogue. But a lot of what Nate's father says during that scene is you can tell like what he's talking about. Like again, nothing is outright stated, nothing is blatantly like confirmed in the way the dialogue is presented, but it's if you really pay attention, it's like, oh yeah, you can definitely see that they're talking about that. Um, and you know what? Cool. I like that the character I instantly connect to and instantly like the most in this series is a trans character. It's just like it feels like fate. But let's talk about this. So this series is about Rue, a 17-year-old drug addict who is just kind of going through the landscape of being an older teenager, heading into adulthood, dealing with the other people around her and everything, and a lot of them being drug addicts or sex addicts or both. And we also see in this episode that Rue is also she's got mental illnesses. It's presumed there's a few things that are presumed, but even they say that that could not be entirely accurate due to the fact that she was being diagnosed with that stuff at such a young age. Um, and no matter which kind of disorders or whatnot she does have, this is definitely like something that can be related to by a lot of people, myself included. Now, I've never turned to drugs for this kind of thing, but she talks about multiple points in this episode about using drugs as a way to quiet the world around her, because everything is in her perspective like basically very loud, to use as like metaphorical. um Everything's very loud around her. There's just so much, and the drugs actually help quiet things out. It helps her relax. It takes away her anxieties, her just constant turmoil that she feels from her disorders, which again is something I can connect to because I've felt that kind of shit. Like, I have anxiety. I have a lot of ticks and little things here and there that just are constantly around. Like, you may notice in a lot of reactions, like I scratch my face a lot or stuff like that. I mess with my hair constantly. um, it's because it's not something I actively choose to do. I just do it. It's a physical tick from my autism. And I do notice it, but it's not something like I'm actively trying to do. Like, it just kind of happens, basically. Um, so and I've gotten panic attacks, which she mentions in here. I've gotten all these kind of moments where I just feel overwhelmed. It's like I very much understand what she's going through, and I found different ways to deal with it. I don't, again, I haven't turned to drugs, but I've turned to a lot of different methods to try and deal with that kind of stuff myself, even in some ways becoming addicted to them. Things such as video games or watching YouTube videos, even. Stuff that just distracts me from my own loudness, again, to use the term metaphorically. So I very much get where she's coming from, and that's why, like, when she said, like, you probably hate me in this episode, I'm thinking, like, no, not at all. I sympathize with you. As someone with mental illness, I sympathize with you, but also, even though I've never had a drug problem myself, it's like, I sympathize with people who do, because it's a legitimate illness, a legitimate addiction. It's not something to hate. It's not something to be judgy over. And I hate when people are. Because it's like, people who have drug addictions need help. They don't need us to judge them and be shitty to them and everything. That doesn't help the matter. So it's like, I don't hate her at all. There is a character in this I do hate, and that is I forgot his name again already. Nate. Nate is a fucking asshole. Nate is a piece of shit. Nate is just terrible, and I'm so happy, so happy that he got his comeuppance in the end when Jules stuck up for him, or stuck up for herself against him. I'm so happy for her for doing that, because it's like, he really needed to get put in his place. He was on the verge of assaulting her. Like, that was made very clear. Like, she even noted that was a possibility. And so grabbing that knife when she did and threatening him with it, it's like, that was self-defense. I do, not only do I not blame her for doing that, but I kind of applaud her for doing that. Because while it's never okay to, like, attack someone necessarily, if you're defending yourself and standing up for yourself in that kind of a situation, especially, again, looking back on it now with kind of the stuff he was saying, and everything, yeah, I just think she did the right thing, all in all. And he was very clearly not in a safe space mentally. Like, he would have done shit to her. Like, he probably would have violated her, honestly. If not, at the very least, physically hurt her. And all because, his ex was having public revenge sex with someone else in the pool, and that got him upsetty. And his father I hate too. His father is just a fucking creep and just so gross and disgusting, and it just I feel so bad for Jules having to deal with that shit. I'm glad she ghosted him. Like, cause my god, that was so fucking uncomfortable. I felt so bad for her. That's why I was like asking, like when she got to the party, I was asking if she was okay. That's why. Because I know I wouldn't be. Um, and then there were some other characters who didn't seem as important at the moment, but weren't like super unimportant either. Like there was this the one girl, the bigger girl who lost her virginity and all. I don't remember her name. I can look it up. I have the information up here. Da, 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 da. Trying to find it. I am not finding it. Was it Kate or something? Cat, I think. I'm seeing a character named Cat here, and I think that might be her. Yeah, Cat loses her virginity. Yeah. Okay. Cat, like I liked her so far. She seemed nice, and she's very cute. The actress. Who is the actress for her? But then there was also like this one guy who was with his girlfriend, and he found out like apparently she may be engaged in some porn videos and stuff. And so because of like what he had seen, he tried to get like too aggressive with her when they were having sex, and it really freaked her out. But I'm so glad that they talked through it together and he apologized and they were able to calmly and rationally discuss it. And I think that's actually very healthy because it was made very clear that what he did was wrong. He apologized, he understood he was wrong, and they talked through it calmly and rationally to come to an agreement about it. It's like she's basically just saying like, don't do that without consent, which it's like, yeah, consent is key always. Um, so Kat, her actress is Barbara Ferreira. Um, Another queer actress too. Okay. What else have you been? Have I seen you in anything? No. She's been in a few things, but nothing I've seen her in. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I recognize any of these actors except Zendaya. Zendaya is the big one, and I know Hunter Schafer by name basically, but I don't know like anything else she's been in. And Storm Reed was Rue's younger sister, like I thought. And let me just see what else she was in. She was in the Suicide. Oh, that yeah, okay. I know who she was in Suicide Squad now too. She was the daughter. She was Idris Elba's character's daughter. Yeah, Tyler Dubois. Yeah, she was in The Invisible Man from 2020. I watched that. I don't remember who she would be in that. But yeah, she was in A Wrinkle in Time. She was not the girl in Hunger Games though. Apparently, it seems I was very wrong on that. But she is gonna be Riley in the live action Last of Us series, so that's fun. That's cool. Um, but yeah, I bet you're at this point waiting to know like what my overall thoughts on this are and like whether or not I'm going to continue this series and reactions. Um, this was a very different kind of series. Just the way it's told, the way like scenes are shot and everything, the direction of it in general and all. It's very different than other things I've honestly just in general seen. Um, I haven't seen many series that are done like this, and this is a very clearly darker series that focuses heavily on, drug and sex addictions and stuff like that. But it also has queer characters in it, played by queer actors and stuff. And Zendaya was fantastic just in this first episode. She did a great job just becoming her character of Rue. Um, and honestly, I really want to see what's going to happen next. If I'm being completely honest, I want to see what's going to happen next. I want to see where these stories go, especially the likes of Rue and I'm going to get the names down, I swear. I'm just I've never been great with names. You guys know that. Um Jules. Jules, especially Rue and Jules. I want to see where their stories go, if they do end up becoming a couple or not. I want to see where some of these other characters' stories go. I'm actually kind of invested. Like, this isn't a series I would normally go for. Um, it very much seems like another one of those teen dramas, but it's the way it's handled is so different. And I think part of the reason for that is of um, because of one of the production companies behind it. One of the production companies of this series is A24. A24 is known, like, is famous for just being off the wall and just completely weird and ridiculous and kind of crazy in a lot of ways. They're actually going to be doing the Has Been Hotel series that's in the works. They're working with Vivzy and all of them on the Has Been Hotel series, so that's fun. Um, but they've also done a bunch of different really famous, really popular movies that they're known for that have been like kind of crazy and wild and weird in some cases. There's one called Lamb that if you have not seen it, I would honestly suggest you do. It's really fucking weird, but it's also kind of cute at points, like really fucking cute. And the ending is just so WTF. They did The Green Knight, which I haven't seen yet. Um, they did Uncut Gems, apparently, which is an Adam Sandler movie, actually. Um, oh, they did The Lighthouse. Remember The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe and um, mind is blanking. Robert Pattinson. Midsummer is another of their movies. So as you can see, just kind of stuff that's really out there that's not typical in the way it's done. Hereditary, which is one I haven't seen but have heard great things about and have kind of wanted to see. Oh, they did The Disaster Artist? I did not know that. I like The Disaster Artist, actually. I think it was a good movie. Even if it is now tainted by the fact that it was James Franco, and he's a fuck shit. They did Moonlight, which was huge. Like, Moonlight was a huge movie. The Lobster, which I've heard fairly good things about. They did The Witch. All kinds of like stuff like that. They actually have movies going back a lot further than I realized. But yeah, their movies are never quite straightforward. Or shows or whatnot. So I can definitely see their kind of touches, the A24 touches in this series, and I'm kind of interested. I kind of want to see more. So yeah, we will continue reacting to this in the future. I don't know if I'll end up getting through the entire thing. From what I can see here, going back to the Euphoria page, there are 2 seasons currently out, both with 8 episodes. Apparently, season 2 actually just finished recently. February 27th. And there are two specials that are between seasons 1 and 2. So yeah, they're 8 episodes each. That's not very long, with 2 specials between each season. That's not that bad. And for a series that I'm actually kind of invested in and kind of interested in, I'm kind of game for this. Just if I'm being honest, I'm kind of game for this series. Um, but yeah, it'll be put on the list. It'll be added to the list so I can react to it at some point in the future, whenever I decide to get back to it and whenever I, get the space opened up and everything. But yeah, I am definitely interested and invested in seeing more. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of the first episode of Euphoria? And thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.